everyone. So I am going to be reading. Oops, I forgot to set my timer. Let me do that. Okay. So I'm going to be reading the next chapter from the last video. We'll be starting on chapter 27. This video will be 30 minutes, give or take. So we'll see how that goes. So I am reading I Am Number 4 by Pittacus Lore. And I hope you're all still enjoying it. I'm still enjoying reading it, and I can't wait to begin. So without further ado, here we go. Chapter 27. I can't sleep. I lie in bed, staring through the darkness at the ceiling. I call Sarah and we talk until 3. I hang up and lie there with eyes wide open. At 4, I crawl out of bed and walk out of the room. Henry sits at the kitchen table drinking coffee. He looks up at me, bags beneath his eyes, hair tousled. "What are you doing?" I ask. "I couldn't sleep either," he says, scouring the news. "Find anything?" "Yes, but I'm not sure what it means to us yet. The men who wrote and published They Walk Among Us, the men we met, were tortured and killed." I sit across from him. "What?" "Police found them when the neighbors called after hearing screams coming from the house. They didn't know where we lived." "No, they didn't, thankfully. But it means the Mogadorians are getting bolder, and they're close. If we see or hear anything else out of the ordinary, we're going to need to leave immediately. No questions asked, no discussion." "Okay." "How's your head?" "Sore," I say. "It took 7 stitches to close the cut. Henry did it himself. I'm wearing a baggy sweatshirt. I'm certain one of the cuts on my back needs stitches as well, but that would require me to take my shirt off, and how would I explain the other cuts and scrapes to Henry? He'll know for sure what has happened. My lungs still burn. If anything, the pain has grown worse." "So, the fire started in the basement?" "Yes." "And you were in the living room?" "Yes." "How did you know it started in the basement?" "Because all the guys came running up." "And you knew everyone was out of the house by the time you went outside?" "Yes." "How?" I can tell he's trying to get me to contradict myself, that he's skeptical of my story. I'm certain he doesn't believe that I merely stood out front watching like everyone else. "I didn't go in," I say. It pains me to do so, but I look him in the eye and I lie. "I believe you," he says. I wait close to noon. Birds are chirping beyond the window and sunlight is pouring in. I breathe a sigh of relief. The fact that I was allowed to sleep this late means that there was no news to incriminate me. If there had been, I would have been pulled from bed and told to pack. I roll off my back and that's when the pain hits. My chest feels as though somebody's pushing down on it, squeezing me. I can't take full breaths. When I try, there's a sharp pain. It scares me. Bernie Kosar is snoring in a ball at my side. I wake him by wrestling with him. He groans at first, then wrestles back. That is the beginning to our day, me rousing the snoring dog beside me. His wagging tail, his dangling tongue immediately make me feel better. Never mind the pain in my chest. Never mind what the day might bring. Henry's truck is gone. On the table is a note that reads, "Ran to the store, be back at 1. I walk outside. I have a headache and my arms are red and splotchy, the cut slightly raised as though I've been scratched by a cat. I don't care about the cuts, or my headache, or the burning in my chest. What I care about is that I'm still here in Ohio, that tomorrow I'll be going back to the same school I've gone to for 3 months now, and that I will see Sarah tonight." Henry gets home at 1. There's a haggard look in his eyes that tells me he hasn't slept. After he unloads the groceries, he goes into his bedroom and closes the door. Bernie Kosar and I go for a walk in the woods. I try to run, and I'm able to for a little while, but after a half mile or so, the pain is too great and I have to stop. We walk on for what must be 5 miles. The woods end at another country road that looks similar to ours. I turn around and walk back. Henry is still in his room with the door closed when I return. I sit on the porch. I tense every time a car passes. I keep thinking one of them will stop, but none of them do. The confidence I felt when I woke up is slowly chipped away as the day wanes. The Paradise Gazette isn't printed on Sunday. Will there be a story tomorrow? I suppose I expected a call to arrive, or the same reporter to show up at our doorstep, or one of the officers to ask more questions. I don't know why I'm so worried about a small-time reporter, but he'd been persistent, too persistent, and I know he didn't believe my story. But nobody comes to our house. No one calls. I expected something, and when that something doesn't come, a dread creeps in that I'm about to be exposed. I'll find the truth, Mr. Smith. I always do, Baines said. I consider running into town, trying to find him, to dissuade him from any such truth, but I know that would only encourage suspicion. All I can do is hold my breath and hope for the best. I wasn't in that house. I have nothing to hide. Sarah comes over that night. We go to my room, and I hold her in my arms, lying on my back on the bed. Her head is against my chest, and her leg is draped over me. She asks me questions about who I am, my past, about Lorien, about the Mogadorians. I'm still amazed at how quickly and easily Sarah believed everything and how she's accepted it. I answer everything truthfully, which feels good after all the lies I've told over the last few days. But when we talk about the Mogadorians, I start to get scared. I'm worried that they'll find us, that what I did will expose us. I would do it again, if I didn't, Sarah would be dead, but I'm scared. I'm also scared of what Henry is going to do if he finds out. Though he is not biologically, for all intents and purposes, he is my father. I love him, and he loves me, and I don't want to disappoint him. And as we lie there, my fear begins to reach new levels. I can't take not knowing what the next day will bring. The uncertainty is sawing me in two. The room is dark. A flickering candle burns on the window ledge a few feet away. I take a deep breath, which is to say, as deep as a breath as I can take. "Are you okay?" Sarah asks. I wrap my arms around her. "I miss you," I say. "You miss me? But I'm right here." "That's the worst way to miss somebody, when they're right beside you and you miss them anyway. You're talking crazy." She reaches up and pulls my face to hers and kisses me. Her soft lips on mine. I don't want her to stop. I don't ever want her to stop kissing me. As long as she is, then everything is fine. Everything is right. I would stay in this room forever if I could. The world can pass by without me, without us, just as long as we can stay together, here, in each other's arms. "Tomorrow," I say. She looks up at me. "Tomorrow what?" I shake my head. "I don't really know," I say. "I guess I'm just scared." She flashes a confused look at me. "Scared of what?" "I don't know," I say. Just scared." When Henry and I get home, after dropping her off, I go back into my bedroom and lie in the same spot where she was. I can still smell her on my bed. I won't sleep tonight. I won't even try. I pace the room. When Henry goes to bed, I walk out and sit at the kitchen table and write under candlelight. I write about Lorien, about Florida, about the things that I've seen when our training first began, the war, the animals, childhood images. I hope for some sort of cathartic release, but there isn't one. It only makes me sadder. When my hand cramps, I walk out of the house and stand on the porch. The cold air helps ease the pain of breathing. The moon is nearly full, a side of it ever so subtly shaved away. Sunrise is 2 hours away, and with that sunrise comes a new day, and the news of the weekend. The paper falls on our doorstep at 6, sometimes 6:30. I'll already be at school by the time it arrives, and if I'm in the news, I refuse to leave without seeing Sarah again, without saying goodbye to Sam. I walk into the house, change clothes, and pack my bag. I tiptoe back through and quietly close the door behind me. I take 3 steps on the porch when I hear a scratching at the door. I turn around and open it, and Bernie Kosar comes trotting out. Okay, I think. Let us go together. We walk, stopping often, standing and listening to the silence. The night is dark, but after a while a pale glow grows in the eastern sky just as we enter the school grounds. There are no cars in the lot, and all the lights are off inside. At the very front of the school, in front of the pirate mural, sits a large rock that has been painted by previous graduating classes. I sit on it. Bernie Kosar lies in the grass a few feet away from me. I'm there for half an hour before the first vehicle arrives, a van, and I assume it's Hobbs, the janitor, arriving early to get the school in order, but I'm wrong. The van pulls up to the front doors, and the driver gets out and leaves it idling. He's carrying a stack of newspapers bound by wire. We nod at each other, and he drops the stack by the door and then drives off. I stay on the rock. I glance contemptuously at the papers. In my mind, I'm hurling curses at them, threatening them to deliver the bad news I'm terrified of. I wasn't in that house on Saturday, I say out loud, and as soon as I do, I feel stupid. Then I look away, sigh, and jump off the rock. Well, I say to Bernie Kosar, this is it, for good or bad. He opens his eyes briefly, then closes them and resumes his nap on the cold ground. I tear the binding away and lift the top paper. The story has made the front page. At the very top is a picture of the burned rubble taken the next morning at dawn. There's a gothic, foreboding feel to it. Blackened ash is forefront to naked trees and frost-covered grass. I read the headline. James' house goes up in smoke. I hold my breath, a miserable feeling centered in my gut, as though horrible news is about to find me. I race through the article. I don't read it. Only look for my name. I reach the end. I blink my eyes and shake my head to rid myself of the cobwebs. A cautious smile forms. Then I scan through it again. No way, I say. Bernie Kosar, my name isn't here! He pays me no attention. I run across the grass and jump back on the rock. My name isn't here! I yell again, this time as loudly as I can. I sit back down and read the story. The headline is a play on Cheech and Chong's Up in Smoke, which is apparently a movie about drugs. What the police believe started the blaze was a marijuana joint being smoked in the basement. How that information was discovered, I have no idea, especially because it's so wrong. The article itself is callous and mean, almost an attack on the James family. I didn't like the reporter. It's apparent that he doesn't like the Jameses. Who knows why? I sit on the rock and read the article 3 times before the first person arrives to unlock the doors. I can't stop smiling. I'm staying in Ohio, in paradise. The town name doesn't seem so foolish to me anymore. Through my excitement, I feel as though I'm overlooking something, that I've forgotten a key component, but I'm so happy that I don't care. What harm can come now? My name isn't in the article. I didn't run into that house. The proof is right here, in my hands. Nobody can say otherwise. What are you so happy about? Sam asks in astronomy class. I haven't stopped smiling. Didn't you read the paper this morning? He nods. Sam, I wasn't in it. I don't have to leave. Why would they put you in the paper? He asks. I'm dumbfounded. I open my mouth to argue with him, but just then Sarah walks into the room. She comes sauntering up the aisle. Hey, gorgeous, I say. She bends down and kisses me on the cheek, something I'll never take for granted. Somebody's in a happy mood today, she says. Happy to see you, I say. Nervous about your driver's test? Maybe a little. Just can't wait until it's over. She sits down beside me. This is my day, I think. This is where I want to be, and this is where I am. Sarah on one side, Sam on the other. I go to class as I've done all the other days. I sit with Sam at lunch. We don't talk about the fire. We must be the only 2 in the whole school not talking about it. The same story, over and over. I never hear my name spoken once. As I expected, Mark isn't in school. A rumor spreads that he and several of the others will be suspended for the theory the paper has spouted. I don't know if it's true or not. I don't know if I care. By the time Sarah and I enter the kitchen for 8th period home ec, my certainty that I'm safe has taken a firm hold. Such a strong certainty that I'm confident I must be wrong, that something has been overlooked. The doubt has been creeping up throughout the day, but I've been quick to push it back down. We make tapioca pudding, an easy day. In the middle of class, the kitchen door opens. It's the hall monitor. I look at him, and I know immediately what it means. The harbinger of bad news. The messenger of death. He walks straight up to me and hands me a slip of paper. Mr. Harris wants to see you, he says. Now? He nods. I look at Sarah and shrug. I don't want her to see my fear. I smile at her and walk to the door. Before I leave, I turn around and look at her again. She's bent over the table mixing our ingredients, wearing the same green apron that I tied on her my first day, the day we made pancakes and ate them off the same plate. Her hair is in a ponytail and loose strands dangle in front of her face. She tucks them behind her ear, and as she does, she sees me standing in the doorway watching her. I keep staring, trying to remember every minute detail of this moment, the way she grips the wooden spoon in her hand, the ivory look to her skin with the light coming in the windows behind her, the tenderness in her eyes. Her shirt has a loose button at the collar. I wonder if she knows about it. Then the hall monitor says something behind me. I wave at Sarah, shut the door, and walk down the hall. I take my time, trying to convince myself that it's just a formality, some document we forgot to sign, some question about transcripts. But I know it's not just a formality. Mr. Harris sits at his desk when I enter the office. He's smiling in a way that terrifies me, the same prideful smile that he had on the day he pulled Mark from class to do the interview. Sit down, he says. I sit. So, is it true? He asks. He glances at his computer screen, then he looks back at me. Is what true? On his desk, there There's an envelope with my name handwritten in black ink. He sees me looking at it. "Oh yes, this was faxed to you about half an hour ago." He picks the envelope up and tosses it to me. I catch it. "What is it?" I ask. "No idea. My secretary sealed it in the envelope as soon as it arrived." Several things happen at once. I open the envelope and remove its contents. 2 sheets of paper. The top is a cover page with my name on it and "Confidential" written in large black letters. I shuffle it behind the second sheet. A single sentence written in all capitals. No name. Just 4 black words on a white canvas. "So, Mr. Smith, is it true? Did you run into that burning house to save Sarah Hart and those dogs?" Mr. Harris asks. Blood rushes to my face. I look up. He turns his computer monitor towards me so that I can see and then read the screen. It's the blog affiliated with the Paradise Gazette. I don't need to look at the name of the author to know who has written it. The title is more than enough. The James House Fire, The Untold Story. My breath catches in my throat. My heart races. The world stops, or at least it seems to. I feel dead inside. I look back down at the sheet of paper I'm holding. White paper, smooth in my fingertips. It reads, "Are you number 4?" Both sheets fall from my hands, drift away, and float to the floor where they lie motionless. I don't understand, I think. How can this be? "So is it?" Mr. Harris asks. My mouth drops open. Mr. Harris is smiling, proud, happy. But it's not him that I see. It's what's behind him, seen through the windows of his office, a blur of red coming around the corner, moving faster than what is normal, than what is safe. The squeal of tires as it zips into the lot. The pickup truck, throwing gravel as it makes a second turn. Henry leaning over the wheel like some crazed maniac. He hits the brake so forcefully that his whole body jerks and the truck comes screeching to a stop. I close my eyes. I place my head in my hands. Through the window, I hear the truck door open. I hear it close. Henry will be in this office within the minute. Okay, so that was the end of chapter 27. We're at 17 minutes, so I'll continue with chapter 28. It's getting good. Hope you guys are still with me. Drama, drama, drama. Chapter 28. "Are you okay, Mr. Smith?" the principal asks. I look up at him. He attempts his best look of concern, a look that lasts only a second before the toothy grin returns to his face. "No, Mr. Harris," I say. "I'm not okay." I pick the sheet up off the floor. I read it again. Where did it come from? Are they merely screwing with us now? There's no phone number or address, no name, nothing but 4 words and a question mark. I look up and out the window. Henry's truck is parked, fumes rising from the exhaust. In and out as quickly as he can, I look back at the computer screen. The article was posted at 11:59 a.m., almost 2 hours ago. I'm amazed it took Henry this long to arrive. A sense of vertigo seeps in. I feel myself sway. "Do you need the nurse?" Mr. Harris asks. The nurse, I think. No, I don't need the nurse. The nurse's station is the room beside the home economics kitchen. What I need, Mr. Harris, is to go back there 15 minutes ago before the hall monitor arrived. Sarah must have the pudding on the stove by now. I wonder if it's boiling yet. Is she looking towards the door, waiting for me to return? The faint echo of the school door slamming shut reaches the principal's office. 15 seconds until Henry is here, then to his truck, then home, then where? To Maine, Missouri, Canada, a different school, a new beginning, another new home, another new name. I haven't slept in almost 30 hours, and only now do I feel the exhaustion. But then something else enters with it, and in that split second between instinct and action, the reality that I'm going away forever without the chance to say goodbye is suddenly too much to bear. My eyes narrow, my face twists in agony, and without thinking, without truly knowing what it is that I'm doing, I lunge over Mr. Harris's desk and crash through the plate glass window, which shatters into a million little pieces behind me. A scream of shock follows. My feet land in the outside grass. I turn right and run across the schoolyard, the classrooms passing in a blur to my right, across the lot and into the woods that lie beyond the baseball field. There are cuts on my forehead and left elbow from the glass. My lungs are burning. The hell with the pain. I keep going. The sheet of paper still in my right hand. I shove it into my pocket. Why would the Mogadorians send a fax? Wouldn't they just show up? That is their main advantage, to arrive unexpectedly, without warning. The benefit of surprise. I take a hard left in the middle of the woods, weaving in and out of the forest's density until it ends and a field begins. Cows chewing cud watch with blank eyes as I streak past. I beat Henry to the house. Bernie Kosar is nowhere to be seen. I burst through the door and stop dead in my tracks. My breath catches in my throat. At the kitchen table, in front of Henry's open laptop, sits a person I immediately think is one of them. They've beat me here, have worked it out so that I am alone, without Henry. The person turns around and I clench my hands in a fist, and am ready to fight. But it's Mark James. "What are you doing here?" I ask. "I'm trying to figure out what's going on," he says, a look of fright evident in his eyes. "Who the hell are you?" "What are you talking about?" "Look," he says, pointing to the computer screen. I walk to him, but I don't look at the screen, my eyes instead focusing on the white sheet of paper sitting beside the computer. It's an exact replica of the sheet in my pocket except for the paper that it's printed on, which is thicker than the facts, and then I notice something else. At the bottom of Henry's, in very small handwriting, is a phone number. Surely, they can't expect us to call. "Yes, it's me, number 4. I'm here waiting for you. We've been running for 10 years, but please, come kill us now. We won't put up a fight. It makes no sense at all." Is this yours?" "Is this yours?" I ask. "No," he says, "but it was delivered by UPS at the same time that I got here. Your dad read it as I showed him the video, and then he sprinted out of the house." "What video?" I ask. "Watch," he says. I look at the computer and see that he's pulled up YouTube. He presses the play button. It's a grainy video of poor quality, as though it's been shot on somebody's cell phone. I recognize his house immediately, the front of which is in flames. The camera is shaky, but through it can be heard the dogs bark and the filtered gasps throughout the crowd. Then the person begins walking away from the crowd, to the side of the house, and eventually to the back. The camera zooms in to the rear window where the bark is coming from. The bark stops, and I close my eyes because I know what's coming. About 20 seconds pass, and in the moment that I fly through the window with Sarah in one arm and the dog in the other, Mark hits the pause button on the video. The camera is zoomed in, and our faces are unmistakable. "Who are you?" Mark asks. I ignore his question, instead ask one of my own. "Who took this?" "I have no idea," he answers. The gravel pops beneath the truck tires in the front of the house as Henry pulls in. I stand straight, and my first instinct is to run, get out of the house, and get back to the school, where I know Sarah will be staying late to develop photos until her driver's test at 4:30. Her face is just as obvious as mine is in that video, which puts her in as much danger as me. But something keeps me from fleeing, and I instead move around to the other side of the table and wait. The truck door slams shut. Henry walks into the house 5 seconds later, Bernie Kosar dashing in ahead of him. "You lied to me," he says in the doorway, his face set hard, the muscles in his jaw flexed. "I lie to everybody," I say. "I learned that from you." "We don't lie to each other," he screams. Our eyes stay locked. What's going on?" Mark asks. "I'm not leaving without finding Sarah," I say. "She's in danger, Henry." He shakes his head at me. "Now isn't the time for sentimentality, John. Do you not see this?" he says, and walks across the room and lifts the sheet of paper and begins waving it at me. "Where the hell do you think this came from?" "What in the hell is going on?" Mark nearly bellows. I ignore the sheet and Mark and keep my eyes on Henry's. "Yes, I've seen it, and that's why I need to get back to the school. They'll see her and go after her." Henry starts towards me. After his second step, I lift my hand and stop him where he stands, 10 or so feet away. He tries to keep walking, but I hold him in place. "We need to get out of here, John," he says, a hurt, almost pleading tone in his voice. While holding him at a distance, I begin walking backwards towards my bedroom. He stops trying to walk. He says nothing, standing there watching me with pain in his eyes, a look that makes me feel worse than I've ever felt before. I have to look away. When I get to my doorway, our eyes meet again. His shoulders are slumped, arms at his sides, as though he doesn't know what to do with himself. He just stares at me, looking as though he may cry. "I'm sorry," I say, giving myself enough of a head start to get away, and then turn and sprint across my bedroom, grab from my drawer a knife I used to scale fish when we still lived in Florida, and jump out the window and race into the woods. Bernie Kosar's bark follows, nothing else. I run for a mile and stop in the big clearing where Sarah and I made snow angels. Our clearing, she had called it. the clearing in which we would have our summer picnics, a pain in my chest at the thought that I won't be here for summer, a pain so great that I bend over and grit my teeth. If only I could call her and warn her to get out of the school. My phone, along with everything else I took to school, is in my locker. I'll get her out of harm's way, and then I'll get back to Henry and we'll leave. I turn and run towards school, run as hard as I can, run as hard as my lungs will permit me. I reach the school just as the buses have begun pulling out of the lot. I watch them from the border of the woods. At the front of the school, Hobbs is standing outside the front window measuring a large sheet of plywood to cover the window I broke. I slow my breathing, try my best to clear my mind. I watch the cars trickle out until there are only a few left. Hobbs covers the hole, disappears into the school. I wonder if he has been warned about me, if he has been instructed to call the police if he sees me. I look at my watch. Though it is only 3:30, the darkness seems to have come on faster than normal, a darkness steeped in density, a darkness that is heavy, consuming. The lights in the lot have come on, but even they seem dulled and stunted. I leave the woods and walk across the baseball field and into the lot. 10 or so cars stand alone. The door to the school is already locked. I grab hold of it and close my eyes and focus, and the lock clicks. I walk inside, and I don't see anyone. Only half of the hallway lights are on. The air is still and quiet. Somewhere, I hear the floor polisher running. I turn into the lobby, and the door to the photography dark room comes into view. Sarah. She was going to develop some pictures today before her test. I pass by my locker and open it. My phone isn't there. The locker's completely empty. Somebody, hopefully Henry, has it. By the time I reach the dark room, I haven't seen a single person. Where are the athletes, the members of the band, the teachers who often stay late to grade papers or do whatever it is they do? A bad feeling creeps into my bones, and I'm terrified that something awful has already happened to Sarah. I press my ear against the dark room door to listen, but hear nothing aside from the drone of the floor polisher coming from far down the hallway. I take a deep breath and try the door. It's locked. I press my ear to it again and gently knock. There's no answer. But I hear a slight rustling on the other side. I take a deep breath, tense myself to what I might find inside, and unlock the door. The room is pitch black. I turn on my lights and sweep my hands one way, then the other. I see nothing and think the room is empty. But in the corner, I see a very slight movement. I crouch down to look, and beneath the counter, trying to remain unseen, is Sarah. I dim my light so that she can see it's me. From the shadows, she looks up and smiles and breathes a sigh of relief. They're here, aren't they? If they aren't yet, they will be soon. I help her up from off the floor, and she wraps her arms around me and squeezes me so tightly that I don't think she intends to ever let go. I came in here right after 8th period, and as soon as school ended, all these weird noises started coming from the halls, and it got really dark, so I locked myself in here and stayed beneath the counter, too scared to move. I just knew something was wrong, especially after I heard about you jumping through the window and you weren't answering your phone. That was smart. But now we have to get out of here, and fast. We leave the room, holding hands. The hallway lights flicker off, the whole school engulfed in darkness, even though dusk is still an hour or so away. After about 10 seconds, they come back on. What's happening? Sarah whispers. I don't know. We move down the hallway as quietly as we can, and any noise we do make seems dead and muffled. The quickest way out is the back door that opens onto the teacher's lot, and as we head that way, the sound of the floor polisher grows. I assume that we'll run into Hobbs. I assume he knows that I'm the one who broke the window. Will he fend me off with a broomstick and call the police? I guess at this point it doesn't matter. When we reach the back hallway, the lights turn off again. We stop and wait for them to come back on, but they don't. The floor polisher continues, a steady hum. I can't see it, but it is only 20 or so feet away in the impenetrable darkness. I find it odd that the machine keeps running, that Hobbs keeps polishing in the dark. I turn on my lights and Sarah lets go of my hand and stands behind me with her hands on my hips. I find the plug in the wall first, then the cord, then the machine itself. It stands in one place, bumping against the wall, unmanned, running itself. Panic sweeps through me, with fear close behind. Sarah and I have to get out of the school. I rip the cord from the outlet and the polisher stops, replaced by the soft hum of silence. I turn my lights off. Somewhere far down the hall, a door slowly creaks open. I crouch down, my back against the wall, Sarah holding tightly to my arm. Both of us are too scared to say a word. Instinct caused me to pull the cord to stop the polisher, and I have the urge to plug it back in, but I know it'll give us away if they're here. I close my eyes and strain to listen. The creaking door stops. A soft wind seems to materialize from nowhere. Surely there isn't a window open. I think that maybe the wind is entering from the window I broke. Then the door slams shut and glass breaks and shatters on the floor. Sarah screams. Something sweeps by us, but I don't see what it is, and I don't care to find out. I pull Sarah by the hand and sprint down the hall. I shoulder the door and rush out into the parking lot. Sarah gasps and both of us stop dead in our tracks. My breath catches in my throat and chills shoot up my spine. The lights are still on, but dimmed and looking ghastly in the heavy dark. Beneath the nearest light, we both see it. Trench coats, swaying in the breeze. Hat pulled low so that I can't see its eyes. It lifts its head and grins at me. Sarah's grip tightens on my hand. We both take one step backwards and trip in our rush to get away. We move the rest of the way back in a crab walk until we hit the door. "Come on!" I yell. As I rush to my feet, Sarah stands. I try the latch, but the door automatically locked behind us. "Shit!" I yell. I see another in the corner of my eye, standing still at first. I watch as it takes its first step towards me. There's another one behind it. The Mogadorians. All these years, and they are finally here. I try to focus, but my hands are shaking too badly to open the door. I feel them bearing down, closing in. Sarah presses close to me, and I can feel her trembling. I can't focus to get the door unlocked. What happened to Grace under pressure? To all those days of training in the backyard? I don't want to die, I think. I don't want to die. "John," Sarah says, and in her voice there is such fear that it causes my eyes to open wide and twist in determination. The lock clicks. The door opens. Sarah and I push through, and I slam it shut. There's a thud on the other side as though one of them has kicked it. We run down the hall. Noises follow. I don't know if any of the Mogadorians are in the school. Another window breaks off to the side and Sarah screams in surprise. "We have to be quiet," I say. We try opening classroom doors, but all of them are locked. I don't think there's enough time for me to open one of them. Somewhere a door is slammed shut, and I can't tell if it was ahead or if it was behind us. Noises follow close behind, closing in, filling our ears. Sarah takes my hand and we run faster, my mind rushing ahead to remember the layout of the buildings so I can keep my lights off, keep from being seen. Finally, a door opens and we fall headlong into it. It's the history classroom. At the left of the school, overlooking a slight hill, and because of the 20-foot drop, there are bars over the windows. Darkness is pressing firmly against the glass and no light enters. I slightly shut the door and hope they didn't see us. I sweep my lights across the room and quickly turn them off. We're alone. And we hide beneath the teacher's desk. I try to catch my breath. Sweat runs down the sides of my face and stings my eyes. How many of them are here? I saw at least 3. Surely those aren't the only ones out there. Did they bring the beasts with them, the small weasels that the writers in Athens were so scared of? I wish that Henry were here, or even Bernie Kosar. The door slowly opens. I hold my breath, listening. Sarah leans into me, and we put our arms around each other. The door closes very quietly and clicks into place. No footsteps follow. Did they merely open the door and stick their heads in to see if we were inside? Did they move on without entering? They found me after all this time. Surely they aren't that lazy. "What are we going to do?" Sarah whispers after 30 seconds. "I don't know," I whisper back. The room is wrapped in silence. Whatever opened the door must have left or is out in the hall waiting. I know, though, the longer we sit, the more of them will arrive. We need to get out of here. We'll have to risk it. I take a deep breath. "We have to leave," I whisper. "We're not safe here." "But they're out there." "I know. And they aren't going to leave. Henry's at home and is in just as much danger as we are." "But how are we going to get out?" I have no idea. Don't know what to say. Only one way out, and that's the way we came in. Sarah's arms stay around me. "We're sitting ducks, Sarah. They'll find us, and when they do, it will be with all of them. At least we'll have the element of surprise this way. If we can get out of the school, I think I can start a car. If I can't, we'll have to fight our way back." She nods in agreement. I take a deep breath and move out from underneath the desk. I reach for Sarah's hand, and she stands with me. Together we take one step, quietly as possible. Then another. It takes a full minute to cross the room, and nothing meets us in the darkness. A very slight glow comes from my hands, emitting almost no light, only enough to keep from running into a desk. I stare at the door. I'll open it and have Sarah jump on my back, and I'll run as hard and as fast as I can, lights on, down the hall, out of the school, and into the lot, or, failing that, into the woods. I know the woods and the way home. There are more of them, but Sarah and I will have the home field advantage. As we near the door, I can feel my heart pounding so hard that I fear the Mogadorians can hear it. I close my eyes and slowly reach for the knob. Sarah tenses, gripping my hand as tightly as she can. When my hand is an inch away, so close to the knob that I can feel the cold coming off of it, we are both grabbed from behind and pulled to the ground. I try to scream, but a hand covers my mouth. Fear rushes through me. I can feel Sarah struggling beneath the grip, and I do the same thing, but the grip is too strong. I never anticipated this, the Mogadorians being stronger than I am. I've greatly underestimated them. There's no hope now. I've failed. I have failed Sarah and Henry, and I'm sorry. Henry, I hope you put up a better fight than I did. Sarah's breathing heavily, and with all my might I try to free myself, but I can't. Shh! Stop struggling! The voice whispers in my ear. A girl's voice. They're out there waiting. Both of you have to be quiet. It's a girl, every bit as strong as I am, maybe even stronger. I don't understand. Her grip loosens and I turn and face her. We take each other in. Above the glow of my hands, I see a face slightly older than mine. Hazel eyes, high cheekbones, long dark hair pulled into a ponytail, a wide mouth and strong nose, olive-toned skin. Who are you? I ask. She looks to the door, still silent. An ally, I think? Somebody besides the Mogadorians knows we exist. Somebody's here to help. I am number 6, she says. I tried to get here before they did. Okay, so that is the end of chapter 28. We'll pick up where, on chapter 29 in the next video. So this one ran a little longer, but I didn't think you guys would be happy if I stopped in the middle of such an interesting chapter. So, let me know what you're thinking. I know it's getting crazy. Oh my god, he's come into contact with Mogadorians. We're gonna see if they're gonna get out of this pickle or not. Okay, so that was Reading by Ree. Until next time, bye!